What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Monday, June 23rd. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from Monday, and we'll escape Monday without any significant IL placement. So we'll head right into our transactions and start with second baseman Tyler Fitzgerald, who's optioned to the minors by the Giants. He's really struggled this year after breaking out last year, and we'll now head to the minors to try to figure things out there offensively. It looks like Brett Wisely is expected to be on the strong side of a second base platoon with Christian Koss, but I'd expect Casey Schmidt to shift over to the keystone position when Matt Chapman returns from the injured list. Next, we have starting pitcher Alan Winans, who was recalled from the minors to start in Cincinnati for the Yankees. Next, we have outfielder Kieran Paris, who was recalled from the minors by the Angels. It was in a corresponding move to Kevin Newman's paternity list placement, so this could be temporary. Paris did not start on Monday, so it does not seem like, even if he is going to stay on this roster, that he's guaranteed any playing time. Since being demoted to AAA on May 26, Paris has batted just 188 with 2 homers, 9 steals, and an 80 WRC plus in the minors. He's been a lot more patient, but Paris is clearly not making enough contact still, so I don't think he's worth your time in fantasy. Next, we have first baseman Jeimer Candelario, who was activated from the 10-day IL. He had missed the past couple months with a lumbar spine strain, and after being activated, Candelario was designated for assignment by the Reds. Pretty surprising considering just 2 years ago, he signed a 3-year, $45 million contract that was ahead of the 2024 season, where he struggled to a .225 batting average. Despite hitting 20 homers, he only turned in an 87 WRC plus, and it was much worse this year for Candelario, as prior to his injury, he batted just 113 with 2 homers and an 8 WRC plus. So really not working out there for Candelario. The Reds have plenty of infielders. This was always a very confusing free agent signing. It was talked about extensively when he signed in the offseason prior to 2024. So now it's all coming to fruition here for the Reds, as Candelario will likely become a free agent and latch on with another team. And then last transaction involves second baseman Luis Angel Acuna, who was optioned to the minors. This was originally reported to be a move that would make room for Mark Vientos' return, but Vientos needs more time to recover. So we're likely expected to see another move to make room for Vientos. We could see Ronnie Mauricio heading back to the minors by the weekend. Don't take my word for it, but that is just an inkling that I have in my centers of feeling. Yes. Next, we'll move on to our news and start with outfielder Chandler Simpson, who's expected to be recalled from the minors today. Simpson is the Rays' number 7 prospect, and in his first taste of the majors, he batted .285 with 19 steals and an 83 WRC plus. Not a big power bat, not a big contact bat, but definitely somebody with a lot of speed, and he's been making a lot of contact in the minors, so the Rays will call him back up. Outfielder Cameron Misner is expected to be optioned to the minors to make room for Simpson, and Simpson is likely to take playing time away from Christopher Morel and Jake Mangum in the outfield. Speaking of outfielders, Corbin Carroll is expected to be placed on the 10-day IL with a fractured wrist. It's not a full fracture. It's like a chip fracture or something like that. I don't know what that means. I don't know how long he's going to be out, but it's probably going to be much longer than we'd like. Carroll, though, is definitely somebody who's going to fight to be back very soon. The D-backs were very wishy-washy about his status. They had been saying over the past couple of days that he was available to pinch run and that this is likely going to be a short IL stint or a short injury, one that wouldn't require an IL stint. But now Carroll is headed to the IL, and the fact that he's now seeking additional opinions on the wrist suggests that the fracture is significant and that he could be forced to miss a few weeks. Next, we have starting pitcher Shota Imanaga, who is expected to be activated from the 15-day IL on Thursday to start in St. Louis. Imanaga has been out for the last few weeks with a hamstring strain. And lastly, starting pitcher Nathan Eovaldi is expected to be activated from the 15-day IL on Friday to start versus the Mariners. Eovaldi has been out with triceps inflammation, and he did not make any rehab starts, so he could be limited in his return to the majors. Now we'll take a look at our notable performances from Monday, a day in which we had just 9 games on our slate. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with designated hitter Pavin Smith, who helped the Diamondbacks to win on the south side of Chicago. Smith went 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, and a walk for good measure. He's up to 8 homers now. First one traveled 389 feet at 105 miles per hour, and the second one went 416 feet at 104 miles per hour. Smith got off to a scorching start this season, batting .342 with 4 homers and a .204 WRC plus in the season's first month, but it's been tough sledding since the calendar flipped to May, as Smith has produced a .212 batting average with just a pair of homers and an 82 WRC plus. He went from being ultra patient, swinging just 35% of the time with a 20% walk rate, but that is dissipated, and he's now more aggressive than ever, swinging at 41% of the pitches he sees and walking at a 14% clip, which is still good, but a far cry from the 20% clip he had in April. But the near 5% increase in his strikeout rate has been the most detrimental to Smith's ability on the field. He's also seen a massive decline in his ability to impact the ball, watching his upper echelon 19% barrel rate fall to a terrible 6% mark over the past couple months, as Pavin Smith has pulled the ball less and has watched his home run to fly ball luck dissipate. And yet the Diamondbacks are still batting him third against right-handed pitchers, and he went deep twice on Monday. I don't think Smith is worth rostering in standard leagues, but he could have a second half resurgence if he can get back to being more patient, and I still think he's worth time in 15-team leagues and deeper. Next, we have second baseman Jackson Holliday, who helped the Orioles to win against the Rangers. He went 2 for 5 with a run, a double, a homer, and 4 RBIs. It was his 9th homer of the year, and it traveled 402 feet at 101 miles per hour. Holliday has obviously been a lot better this year than he was in his debut campaign, and his spot at the top of the Orioles lineup is testament to that. However, he's still far from living up to the hype that accompanied him throughout the minors. Holliday helps more in fantasy because of his power speed combination. He's at 9 homers and 8 steals so far, but he's been pretty mid otherwise, batting .265 with a 735 OPS. StatCast suggests that Holliday's been relatively unlucky this year, and I can't really get behind that because StatCast doesn't account for batted ball direction. Holliday hits 44% of his batted balls up the middle, which is good for batting average, but not great for power, and Holliday will truly take off when he can learn how to pull the ball more to tap into his obvious power, evidenced by his 11% barrel rate. Don't drop Holliday, but don't get your hopes up that the true breakout is going to happen this year. And lastly, we have outfielder Dominic Canzone, who helped the Mariners to win in Minnesota, going 2 for 4 with 2 runs, a home run, and an RBI. It was his 4th homer of the year, and it traveled 407 feet at 108 miles per hour. And Canzone just went deep twice on Sunday, so he's currently on fire and deserving of more playing time in Seattle. Canzone tore up AAA to the tune of a .296 batting average with 13 homers and a 127 WRC plus, and he's been even better in a limited sample in the majors this year. Unfortunately, Canzone's got stiff competition in the corner outfield in Seattle, or I guess across the outfield, with Julio Rodriguez manning center field, Randy Arozarena locking down left field, and Luke Raley platooning in right field with Dylan Moore. But I see a path to playing time for Canzone, with Raley shifting to first base to platoon with Donovan Solano, which would allow Canzone to take over the strong side of the right field platoon. It makes sense and would make Canzone worth rostering in 15-team leagues and deeper because of his offensive potential. But if you'd like more information on the notable performances by batters on Monday, check out the Daily Batters Box article over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Trevor Rogers, who helped the Orioles to win versus the Rangers, tossing 8 shutout innings, allowing just 3 hits while walking nobody and striking out 4. Rogers induced 8 whiffs with 26% CSW across 101 pitches. Rogers didn't look great in his first start back in the rotation last time out, but he locked in for a great performance on Monday as he shut out a Rangers lineup for 8 innings that was exclusively right-handed. It's hard to say whether or not it was deserved, or it's hard to say that it was deserved, as the 8 whiffs and 4 strikeouts across 8 frames and 101 pitches suggests Rogers was heavily reliant on balls in play, turning into outs to be effective and to remain efficient. It seemed like all of his pitches were spotted well, but they didn't really overwhelm. His changeup was his most thrown offering as it stayed low and earned plenty of swings, resulting in 4 whiffs and 10 foul balls, while his 4-seamer couldn't be handled upstairs, returning 9 foul balls and 6 called strikes, and Rogers' sinker stayed arm side for 4 called strikes and 7 outs in play. Rogers' slider made a big difference as he used it backdoor effectively for 5 called strikes and 42% CSW, but I wouldn't go running to the wire to pick up Rogers after this start, but he's now proven we can trust him as a streamer and maybe even as a streamer versus the Rays up next. Next, we have Eduardo Rodriguez, who helped the Diamondbacks to win it against the White Sox, tossing 6 shutout innings, allowing 5 hits and 2 walks while striking out 10. He induced 11 whiffs with 29% CSW across 29 pitches. And I stumbled over my words to call this double-digit strikeout performance on yesterday's podcast. And what I mean by that is yesterday I said, hey, watch out, he could have a double-digit strikeout performance, but I really minced my words a little bit. Nonetheless, I think I got the point across, and I think this one still counts as a victory lap. And this is already the third such performance this year for Erod, and this is the same. It's the same number of double-digit strikeout performance he's combined to throw since 2019. So since 2019, heading into 2025, he had 3 double-digit strikeout performances. This year, already 3 double-digit strikeout performances. Clearly a different Eduardo Rodriguez this year. He took advantage of a poor White Sox lineup on Monday that featured almost exclusively right-handed batters in an attempt to combat the southpaw, but that didn't face Rodriguez, who filled up the zone with heaters and got away with plenty, returning 13 foul balls and 11 called strikes, as well as 5 whiffs and 32% CSW, as the fastball accounted for more than half of his strikeouts. But you would have expected him to have a great game with changeups after hearing he faced a ton of righties and fan 10, but the pitch induced just a pair of whiffs and 20% CSW as the White Sox refused to chase it downstairs. However, Rodriguez's cutter stepped up, earning 82% strikes to keep him in at bats. This isn't necessarily a tasty recipe for success, but Erod has proven he can dominate bad lineups from time to time. And guess what? We're going from one time to another time with the Marlins up next. I think we can stream him there. Just maybe don't expect another 10 strikeout performance, but I think that we've been saying that after each one of these. So maybe expect another 10 strikeout performance from Rodriguez. Lastly, we have Matthew Liberatore, who took down the Cubs, tossing 7 innings, allowing 6 hits and 2 earned runs while walking 1 and striking out 5. He induced 11 whiffs with 26% CSW across 85 pitches. Liberatore hit a rough patch recently, and success against the White Sox last time out didn't really cure concerns surrounding his fall off, but Monday's outing, in which Liberatore took down the mighty rival Cubs, should count as a legit bounce back. He faced mostly righties and relied heavily on his four-seamer, which induced 3 whiffs and 26% CSW, as he kept it a little bit too far upstairs, but his secondaries stepped up in this one, namely his slider, which is usually the secondary to step up, a pitch that doesn't typically find success against opposite-handed batters, though, but it didn't subscribe to that belief system, leading his arsenal with 5 whiffs and 38% CSW. Liberatore would have found more success with his changeup and curve if he was able to keep them low, and because of that, I'm still concerned because those were the 2 pitches that made Liberatore different this year. They provided him weapons to take down righties, which is something that he needed as a fastball slider guy, and while he got away without his 2 best pitches in this one, I'll feel a lot more confident when the command of Liberatore's slow ball and hook return. I think I'm still starting him with the Guardians in Cleveland up next. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Monday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Dylan Lee pitched a perfect 4-out save to record his 2nd save of the season. Raisel Iglesias pitched in that one, recording a pair of outs in the 8th for his 2nd hold. It looks like Iglesias might be giving up the role, but he's been a lot more solid in recent weeks. So maybe this is still just a speculation here, but Lee is working his way into the conversation for saves in Atlanta. Next, we have Anthony DeSclafani, who recorded the first save of his career as he pitched the final 3 innings without allowing a hit. And lastly, David Bednar pitched a scoreless 9th for his 11th save. In terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Edwin Diaz pitched a scoreless 9th, down by 1. He hadn't pitched since last Tuesday, so this was a maintenance outing. Emilio Pagan pitched a scoreless 9th up by 5. The Reds tacked on 2 insurance runs in the 8th, so they stole his save. Kenley Jansen threw just 4 pitches in the 9th with a 4-run lead before being pulled from the game as his velocity was down 3 miles per hour, so a little bit concerning there with Kenley Jansen. And lastly, Kyle Finnegan recorded the final out of the game with a 4-run lead to escape Zach Brzezicki's 9th inning jam. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Tuesday, June 24th, a day in which we'll have a full slate of 15 games. My matchup of the day is Framber Valdez versus Ranger Suarez. We got a pair of southpaws in an league matchup, so should be a blast to watch. You don't often get to see the Astros face the Phillies, and actually so infrequently. It's just once a year as per the rules. In terms of probable starters, we've got 8 guys in the auto starts tier, including both Valdez and Suarez. We've also got Tarek Skubal versus the A's, Garrett Crochet in Anaheim, and Carlos Rodon in Cincinnati. Our probably starts tier has 3 guys, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Ryan Nelson on the south side of Chicago. Nelson had a great fastball last time out. He really just needs one pitch to support it to have success against the White Sox, just like his teammate Eduardo Rodriguez did on Monday. I'd also keep an eye out for Charlie Morton versus the Rangers. He's been on a roll recently. We can consider it a Vargas rule and roll with it here against the Rangers, who were unable to handle Trevor Rogers on Monday. In terms of hitter suggestions, I go for Dodgers and Rockies hitters in Coors Best Hitters Park in baseball. And we'll see Justin Wroblewski take on Herman Marquez. I'd also look at Nationals and Padres hitters in Petco Park. We'll see Trevor Williams take on Ryan Bergert. Not a great pitching matchup. That's why I'll be targeting that one. And then lastly, I'll look at Marlins and Giants hitters in Oracle Park. We'll see Cal Quantrill take on Justin Verlander, neither of whom have been too great this year, and Verlander is returning from the injured list. Now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Kenley Jansen may be injured, so go pick up Reed Detmers, maybe Ryan Zeffer-John if you prefer a right-hander. Emilio Pagan is pitched on 3. It's pitched in 3 in a row, and Tony Santillan has pitched in 3 of the past 4, and so has Scott Barlow. So maybe we see Taylor Rogers get a save for the Reds, but I'd expect Tony Santillan to be in there on Tuesday. And lastly, David Bednar has pitched on back-to-back days, so we could see Dennis Santana get a save for the Pirates on Tuesday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.